Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Price List Update Summary video series brought to you by Actionable Insights. You've got Harrison here, you've got Whatley there, and we're here to talk about the changes to the Xactimate price list in April of 2023. What new line items were added to the price list, and what existing line items changed? Whatley, it's April. There are 7 new line items to break down. If you are watching us on YouTube, if you could, please like and subscribe. Hit the bell. We are trying to amass followers on YouTube so that you guys can watch our videos on YouTube, and then we can actually turn off all the ads. So that's our goal. Like, we want to demonetize our platform.
Help us. Help you.
Like, we're an educational nonprofit. We want to get you the content you want without ads.
We're this close, right? We need like another 500 or something?
Something like that. Just click bell, like, subscribe. Yeah. Thank you. April's a big month, by the way. We have the RIA Conference. Actionable Insights is a big sponsor this year of the RIA Conference. Whatley, you are speaking with Aaron Brunko from the Verus Property Estimating Solutions.
You got it. We're going to kick the thing off. We got the keynote. See
if
Brunko's going to disclose what he's been up to there in Lehigh.
Yeah. So if you are not attending or registered for the RIA conference yet, it is one of our favorite conferences of the year, and we would love to see you there. We'll be there talking about the actionable profile. While you and I don't always talk about it, or maybe we do always talk about it. It's hard for me to remember what we talk about. But if you haven't checked it out, we have a profile in Xactimate that provides you with live estimating guidance while you write your scope. So you can make less estimating mistakes, and you'll get reminders about what line item should I be included in my scope. So with all that in mind, let's jump into the details of the software that we all use to invoice in the property insurance industry, with 7 new line items that came out added to the Xactimate price list this month. Starting here at the top, we have 3 new line items around air filters for containment. WTR BARF, B-A-R-R-F, WTR BARF A, and HMR BARF. Yes, it is so funny. It's always going to be funny. Like, the children inside all of us hear the word BARF, and we get a little excited. But here's what you really need to know. If you do mitigation work, and you're setting up containment and negative air machines, there is a new line item that could potentially impact every single one of your scopes. Okay? And yes, it's BARF. Containment barrier, air filter. So diving into this line item, what is it?
Does it show a picture of it?
No, it does not. There's no picture for it yet right away. Yeah. You and I did some little Google searching. I'll bring up a little video here in our screen recording of like, what is this air filter thing? This is it. And so talk about these containment barrier air filters, their use, and the importance of the addition of these line items.
Yeah, so as formerly owning a full service restoration shop, this was so frustrating because we used to use this more often than not when you use containment. So what's the scenario? If you're just deploying a negative air machine in a containment, it's just recirculating the air, then you don't have true negative air and you wouldn't need one of these filters. But what we traditionally did is we would deploy a negative air machine, and then we would use our lay flat ducking, and we would pipe that outside. And when you are exhausting the air outside, you're actually creating a negative air. And the problem with it is if you don't have a filter, it's going to come ripping that containment down, all the containment posts, all the containment, so on. I'm sure we did that once or twice, and we're like, this could be done better. And so we used to use like the pre-filters from the DHUs because they were like cheap enough and they work, and you're really not like that worried about it being like full-on HEPA. You're just trying to still maintain the barrier, but you need the air to be able to flow into the containment.
Makes sense.
So this is something we did a lot, Harrison, but we never really figured out how to invoice it in a way that wasn't met with some resistance, especially with the program work that we did. And this is like one of those line items like, man, where were you 15 years ago? This is a great addition to the price list. We got it for WTR and HMR, and the after hours variant there with WTR. So good addition. Yeah, and it's nice. It's like the right priced too, because as I'm mentioning, you don't need a really high grade HEPA filter. You just need some sort of filter. So and there's labor in there, right? For that to be
that was the other thing I wanted to point out here is sometimes these filter or post oriented line items are material only. Yeah. But these are WTR and HMR for a reason. They have their respective labor trade codes. CLN-R for the WTR category, HMR for the HMR category. They have labor included in these line items.
Yeah, and then a furnace air filter. Yeah, that's like the equivalent of that pre-filter for the DHU, as I mentioned. So, yep, that all makes sense. I dig it.
Yeah,
That works.
that's
So
big. I mean, that's a big impact that could impact almost every setup as negative air setup.
yeah, I mean, provided you are using it in Xactimate outside, I think Harrison, like the majority of the time, a restorer will just throw a negative air machine in the containment. They don't necessarily exhaust it outside, but it's something we got in a habit of doing because we were doing a lot of mold work, and it was something that we did commonly. So I don't want to give like the ingesters the impression like this would be done every time. If I was to paint with broad strokes, I'd say 25% of the time you see a containment setup
with an air filter.
Yeah, with a filter there to the right or left of the zipper. That's I think that would be what I would see as reasonable and customary.
Okay. For those of you that use the actionable profile, I would like you guys to know we have already authored and are working towards developing the rules that will remind you of these new line items that exist. So if you're doing mitigation work and you're writing your estimates in the actionable profile, in about a week or two, you will start to see alerts pop up reminding you that you may need these line items to include them in your scopes. Okay.
Yep.
Number 4 here, PLM slab LF.
Yep.
This is an open closed slab for plumbing work by linear foot in the PLM category. Now, when I came up here and I searched closed slab before this, you've noted we had PLM slab OC previously.
Yeah.
And so basically they've just added a different variant of this line item by linear foot to help, hey, how many linear feet do you need to open and close in that slab to do some discovery work or like? There you go.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love the flexibility here to do it by linear foot because I can remember times like hiring our plumber to do it. Like, if you guys are familiar with post-tension slabs, sometimes it's difficult to determine if it's a post-tension slab. If you're ever going to open a slab, make sure you go into the garage and make sure that you look for a post-tension slab stamp. If that garage floor has an epoxy coating, you might not be able to see that at all. So keep in mind, if you're going to go and start cutting into a slab and it's a post-tension slab, that's how people die. Several people die every year doing that because there's so much tension in that cable where if you hit that and you cut it, all the concrete around it will snap back and it creates all manner of debris. And I always struggled with the other one, Harrison, because even if I could get like my plumber, it was usually my plumber that was like going and penetrating the slab and then repairing it. Like I couldn't make the economics work with the line item for $2,200. Because think about that, right? They're taking all that risk to go in there and open it up, remove that concrete. You're getting rid of that debris, and then they got to come back and then fill that up. And to do that the right way, you'd often have to drill into each side of that slab and put some rebar in there and epoxy that rebar in there. To do it right is a lot of work, and $2,200 may work sometimes in the perfect scenario, but certainly not all the time. And so now it's done by linear feet. And so if you are doing a longer run or a wider square, you can represent that cost with, again, less resistance in a claim settlement environment. So I like this move.
Me too. All right. Many of you may have heard of the line item Dry Patch J. It was introduced in May of 2018. It helps address when you are tying in new drywall to existing drywall. Well, we have essentially another version of Dry Patch J, this time for brick. In the masonry MAS category, BRKJ, join new brick to existing brick per linear foot. So if you've ever used Dry Patch J, you'll be familiar with this idea of, hey, I have a line item. This is an add for line item that I need to add for the additional installation labor that would be required when brick is being replaced against existing brick. So this is great. I mean, it's nice to see them continue this concept of if you're trying to match new stuff to old existing stuff, there's usually some additional labor that goes around to ensuring that those things look good and return to pre-loss condition. So generally speaking, it's great to see that this has been added to the masonry category to allow people to attempt to tie in new brick to existing brick and make it all look good.
Can you think of any other categories where this logic might apply?
You and I were talking about this previously. I think the next category where an opportunity like tie in new to existing would work would be plaster. So we now have it for drywall. We now have it for brick. It would probably be a good idea to look into, is there merit into adding a PLA category oriented join new plaster to existing plaster? The only question there, Whatley, would be how many people are putting plaster back with plaster.
Yeah.
Would dry patch J essentially be the one that is used there?
Often.
Insurance owes for what was there at the time,
Yeah,
right?
so then it makes it accurate in that context. What we're alluding to, guys, is a lot of times with plaster, especially like lath and plaster, the carrier owes for that plaster, but it's not that common. It's even just hard to get a craftsman because it's kind of beyond tradesman work, like plaster, true plaster, Latin plasters, and the craftsman category. It's hard to get a craftsman to even do that work. So a lot of times it comes back in drywall.
Yeah.
But
So if plaster was there, drywall is often what's being replaced.
yeah, you got it. But I mean, you still should estimate it, whether you're an adjuster or a contractor, to what was pre-loss condition, as to most policies, HO3, DP6 policies would read.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would be helpful in that context, trying to evaluate the cost to go butt that up.
The last two new line items of the month are bathroom ventilation fan covers. These are detach and reset line items in the ELE, electrical, and HVC, HVAC categories. So there's your 7 new line items. I mean, there's some impactful ones I think that will pop up regularly throughout the remainder of the year. So it's nice to see these hot additions in April of this year. Let's now pivot, Whatley, and jump to changes to existing line items. And oh my goodness.
Sometimes I tell you guys to check out because it's like we're going to go through it and it's not going to add that much value. But this is a big month for some material changes to a lot of line items. What do we got, Harrison?
Do you do tile? Do you replace tile? Do you remove tile? Do you look at tile? Do you touch tile? Do you order tile? Yeah, right. Okay. Tile people. If tile touches any of your jobs, then the April changes to the price list will touch you. That's probably, I could have probably phrased that better, but generally speaking, there have been sweeping changes to the yields of labor in tile categories. That's both replacing tile and removing tile. And so I went ahead and added pretty much every tile line item that was affected here that we could look at. This includes tile AV, your standard ceramic porcelain tile, mortar bed for tile, cement board, glass tile, marble or granite tile, mosaic tile, slate tile, tile shower, travertine tile. Guys, if you do tile, the changes this month affected you. So here, let's take a look here. We, Whatley, often talk about yields during these calls. It's something that Actionable trains towards, understanding how these line items are composed, what makes the price what it is. There are a couple different levers that you can adjust or tweak, and one of which is yield, specifically direct yield here. And if you go into a line item and you hit edit on the labor component, it'll provide you with a direct yield. Now, on March, reminder, we have March 2023 on the left, old. We have April 2023 on the right, new. So last month, the line item for tile AV minus basically said that you could install 19.2 square feet per hour in a perfect environment, no distractions, no homeowners, no chaos of restoration, 19.2 square feet per hour. In April, that has been reduced by approximately 2 square feet per hour to 17.28 square feet per hour. And as you and I always trained visually, there's an inverse relationship between yield and price, yield being productivity. Let's say yield's over here, price is over here. If yield goes down, something gets harder to do, the price of it goes up. So what we're seeing here for April 2023 is sweeping changes around yield, recognizing that tile is hard to work with. Yields for tile across the board have gone down.
But there's something else going on. I was just talking to one of a client's designer yesterday, and she was talking about the spike in tile cost here in San Diego. So it was really ironic to see that being represented in the price list here locally.
In a timely manner.
Reasons I don't totally understand. The cost of tile per square foot is burgeoning.
Yes. So it is awesome to see in a timely manner that the price list is capturing these changes and reflecting it here via these labor yields and alike. So I'm serious. Like if you do tile work, go take a look at your scopes between March and April. Go take a look at the changes in your local price list.
Even the WTR, right? Even if you just remove the tile.
That's what I was going to get to. This impacts mitigation work as well. I'm going to scroll down so you can see the removal activities here. All in all, based on my quick maths and looking at this, tile replacement went up around 10 to 20%, the line item prices overall, and tile removal went up by about 10%, 10 to 15%. Things like WTR TIL, this is the San Diego price list, we're at $351. To remove, now it's at $389. Tile AV to remove went from 252 to 280. So obviously, this is the San Diego price list. This is our home. It's what we know best. But I would encourage you to take 5 minutes, add some tile line items with the March price list and an April price list, and take a look at your local price list as to see what actually changed, what the impact was in tile in our area. So yeah, Whatley, we have not seen a lot of yield changes over the last couple months in these changes in the price list update summary video series, but wow, that's a big sweeping change.
Yeah, normally don't change that much, right? You and I saw some last year for installing like large televisions because they're getting lighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
To install,
the
that makes
brackets,
sense,
and the like,
and we saw yields at that point go up, which drove the price down. But in this particular case, tile is getting harder to do,
or more expensive
to
overall.
like find the labor. Like you're just trying to get to an accurate unit-based price. So I don't know what's driving it. I don't want to posture as if I know. I just it's funny that I'm hearing that in the marketplace that tile is going up by square footage, and then boom, here they are.
Here it is. Okay, let's take a look at the additional item information changes. These are not material changes to the prices of any of these line items, but details around the line items themselves change that we need to be aware of. DRYAC in the various acoustic ceiling popcorn texture line items. If you were to look at the additional item information in March, it basically said take a look at PNTS for various priming needs. Now they've gotten a little bit more specific, PNT-ACS. So that's the priming line item you're supposed to use with acoustic texture. I love it when Xactimate's pricing department clarifies, if you're doing this, here's your related line item. So anytime these clarifications happen, I'm a big fan in general.
Is your team going to add a rule for that one?
Probably,
yes. In April? I think that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm. In fact, I think already have a rule. I may just need to tweak it to make sure it points to the correct actual suggested line items. If you guys are doing solar electrical panels, here's your mounting hardware detach and reset line item. Apparently, this line item did not clarify previously that this is priced per panel. So for each panel, you should have a quantity of 1. So I guess there were some conversations around it. Unclear. Note the description itself has actually been changed to clarify that it's per panel here.
That's more accurate.
You don't even have to jump into the additional item informations to determine at first glance, yes, this is supposed to be per panel mounting hardware DNR. All right.
Somebody somewhere put together a scope that was attempting to pay a policyholder / restorer
$36
to detach and
20
reset
panels.
All the panels. That happened.
At least just detaching and resetting the mounting hardware of those panels. Yeah. But yes. All right. Taking a look at, this is a removal activity code for the FCS category, MBLTR, marble or granite treads or risers. It's just said, hey, we want to clarify that these are for marble or granite tread and riser, not just marble, tread, and riser. Okay. So this applies to the granite as well. If you weren't clear before, it says it in the item description. It's marble or granite as well. Wally, here's another one where you and I enjoy these line item description changes. So it used to just say add floor glue down application, add floor glue down application. And if you know what I'm talking about, these are the SCW GAD-C and the FCV PLK GDC line items. Now they've clarified, hey, FCW is for the wood flooring glue down. FCV is for the vinyl plank glue down.
Yep.
Additionally,
but you wouldn't be able to make that mistake with the actionable profile.
We would recommend, based on what you're doing, the correct line item. But here's the cool part. I mean, historically, you wouldn't find maybe these line items when you search for wood flooring. But now that you search for wood flooring, these line items, like the FCW line item, should come up more easily.
Everything's better about this. So
yes.
Good.
Yes. Now, here was the other line item around PLM slab OC, the existing line item. So now we have it by linear foot. You said it. Gosh, how did you pull that out of your memory banks? The $2,200 for what it costs to perform, but to use this line item previously. Nice work. So it's basically just saying, hey, there's some additional language that says, here's what it's for. This type of work may vary, right? We didn't have all this kind of language in previously. Yeah. So now that there are 2 line items for opening and closing a slab for plumbing work, both a general $2,200 in the San Diego price list to do the activity, or a bilinear foot option. Basically, if it's over 5 linear feet, that's about where the breaking point,
right? Because that's exterior. That's like near a pool. Like that's where it would be cheap and not so dangerous and precarious, right? But if you're messing with a slab inside of a structure, that's a good example of like how divergent those costs can be if you're going to open up a slab. So it's good that they included that language. But again, I love the fact that you can do it by linear feet. It's a lot easier for an adjuster to be like, okay, it's like roughly 4.5 feet, but we'll give them 7 because that's what they otherwise need, and that would be negotiated. Than
Makes
it is
sense.
to like include 2 of the open slabs, because that's difficult to approve and send through to an auditor or whatever else. That's going to be red flagged most of the time.
Makes sense. Lastly here, the P&L panel line items around cedar closet lining and cedar paneling have been updated just to point to clarify, hey, these line items, PLN, CLM, CLOS for cedar closet lining does not include cedar trim boards. It did not say that previously, so now it says excludes cedar trim boards, and they're pointing out the suggested line items. If cedar trim is needed, see one of these F&C options to be able to and add that to the scope as well.
Yep. And
So
now I think your rules around that can be a little bit more prescriptive.
Yep.
With that guidance.
Just quick text change and we're good to go on the actionable profile versions of those rules. So, guys, that's the. Oh, by the way, every now and then, Varus gives us an idea about what new line items may be added to the price list in the future. Here we have 2 future additions. Again, we've seen electric car charging stations, so those line items are still in the works. But here we have items for lightweight, waterproof tile shower backer board.
Yeah, that's good.
Are coming in the future. So
that's becoming more popular.
Yeah. So there you go. There's the changes to the Xactimate price list in April of 2023. A reminder, head over to getinsights.org. That's where you'll find all of our actionable insights estimating resources. If you want to learn about Matterport, if you want to learn about Xactimate, we're pretty good at teaching that stuff, and we'd love to help you learn about it. So thank you, as always, for following. Again, please like, share, subscribe. All this stuff helps us help the industry. And in the meantime, good luck settling those claims out there.
Keep building.